Thanks to the fine people at 8-Bit Legend, I was able to acquire a review code for the game Trophy. Trophy is an interesting game. It follows a lot of the formula from past retro games, gives you that sense of frustration but with accomplishment at the same time, something that most modern gamers know as Soulsborne games. Aside from that retro difficulty, this game also just oozes every aspect of like 80s, 90s NES gaming, straight down to even the story itself, where you play Dr. Sword. You and fellow doctor, who apparently study robotics and genetics, you travel to a planet called Geras 9. Now the other doctor, Zayla Quinn, you guys work amongst the robots, you trade culture, you get to know them, and you finally decide that you're gonna try to create a sentient robot for Earth. Well, in this time, Dr. Zayla goes crazy and starts to corrupt all of the robots on this planet while naming himself Master Q. Now you and Beeper, your new robot buddy, have to stop this, and there's no better way than to join forces, like literally to be the same being. And that's exactly what we have. Does that make sense? No, not really. But that's what happens. And once robot and human combine, they become a protagonist, the one who has kind of a trophy looking head. And you are able to kind of go through each stage as you wish. You have the option of choosing which one to go with, kind of like a Mega Man style. And I gotta be honest, it does feel very, very like Mega Man, but more difficult. I've recently beaten the first 3 or 4 Mega Man, not nearly as hard as this. As you have 9 levels and 9 gigantic bosses to fight, I can tell you that once you finally do take one down, you just feel like a much better gamer. Like, you're so proud of yourself. Now, I will say this, for anyone curious, I haven't beat the game, and I probably won't, because I'm not that good. I'm gonna keep trying, but I see a point where I'm just gonna give up, to be honest. And if I'm being fair about this, that's not the game's fault. That's on me. And it's namely because I'm a reviewer, I gotta move on to other games, and ultimately, I have to be honest, when it comes to shooters and retro games, I don't mesh with them as much as I do RPGs and action-adventure games. It's not anything against those games, it's something wrong with me. So I try to be as objective as possible when talking about these games. But I will say that there is this charm to Trophy that really can't be recreated. And I find that very interesting because of how detailed they were, paying attention to every little aspect of retro gaming and bringing that to the Nintendo Switch. One of the things that I noticed early on was there was some screen slowdown. Almost felt like a little bit of lag, and I thought, okay, well, they'll fix this at launch, and, I'm going to go ahead and just email my contact and let them know. Well, the thing is, I also noticed it almost felt like the game was purposely doing it. And I found out that, yes, in fact, that's what their whole goal was. The dev team wanted to add these parts in there, kind of like in Mega Man when you're switching to the next screen, you'll have this lag, or when too many enemies get on the screen, there's be a little bit of a slowdown. It doesn't throw you off too much or anything of that nature. I will say at the very beginning, especially during the forklift battle, it got to be a bit much for me and I was a little irritated, but once I got used to knowing that this is just going to happen and it's sort of part of the game, then I had no problem with it, to be honest. Now, also sticking to those traditional roots, this is a game that is best played on the NES controller. You can get one of those from the Nintendo Switch Online, if they're still available. I don't know if they are or not, but it's perfect for that because it is just 2 buttons and a diagonal pad. That's all you need. But no love letter to the NES or Mega Man or retro gaming in general would be complete without the music. And I like to say that this game definitely got that completely right. It has that wave synth music that we all know and love, and just kind of takes us back to those days of playing Mega Man, or for me, a couple weeks ago. But it really does resurrect those feelings for a lot of retro gamers and for people who were around back then. It is interesting enough, I had my dad check it out, and he really liked it. He thought it was one of the better games that I've played recently, or I've shown him. And that list of games that I've played with him recently was Breath of the Wild, The Last of Us, and Horizon Forbidden West. But all of those games didn't match up to Trophy for him. This was a perfect game. And I think that's where this game really hits home and where it can be the most appreciated is by people who love retro gaming. To an extent, retro gamers are crazy. In the best way, by the way. They love this world of rage quitting, control breaking, and ultimately just feeling so frustrated with the game that you can't take it anymore. And you have to take a break and come back later. They love that. I personally, not so much. But I will say, as playing this game, I felt much more comfortable in it than a lot of other retro games, and there was definitely moments in it that either kind of freaked me out, like with the gigantic clown, or also made me laugh, like with the gigantic forklift. There's just different aspects of the game where I felt like it was just being really silly, and I appreciated that. Like, I love the nonsensical run and gun style of play that you can have with this, but at the same time, you have to memorize all the traps, everything about the level, so that you don't mess up, because this game is incredibly unforgiving. If you just fall into a hole, that's it, you lost a life, which I know is very retro, but when you've been playing a lot of modern games, you kind of forget that the stage is just as big of an enemy as the actual enemy. Now, to put a bow on this little retro present, my rankings would be as such. If you're a retro gamer, this is easily an 8.5 out of 10. This was their target audience, and they really went after it, and they nailed that target perfectly. But if you're just a gamer who's kind of interested in maybe dipping your toes, then I would give this about a 6.5 out of 10. Because some of the charm and some of the overall difficulty of this game might cause you to just rage quit and be done with it. To be clear though, I think if this is something you're interested in, you should definitely check it out and give it a shot. Because yes, climbing those mountains is tough, but once you actually do it, it's well worth the journey, if for nothing than personal validation. But again, I think everyone should check it out who's interested in it. If you know you don't like retro games and you know you don't like difficult games, then I probably would steer away from this one. But that's my thoughts on Trophy. Like always, guys, I want to know what you think. What are your thoughts? Do you like retro gaming? Are you thinking about picking up Trophy? Have you played it before on a different console or a different system? Anything and everything in the comment section down below. I appreciate each and every one of you guys. And like always, I'm wishing you health, wealth, and above all, I hope you're truly happy because you make me happy. Take care, everyone.